Very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's uLaw webinar. In today's topic of using our uLaw insights during your downtime webinar, we're going to be talking about one of the most underrated feature of the product, which is our deep dive analytical engine that's running behind the scene, providing you with data and meaningful insights into your business's various facets, if you will. So today's 1 hour or 45 minutes to an hour is going to be predominantly talking about our analytics feature, the benefit of that feature and why we developed that feature for our legal professionals to use, the value that it provides as a functionality beyond just being there for the sake of things, the feedback that we've received from the community about how they've consumed this feature to be better prepared in managing not only their legal side of the business, but the actual business side of things as well. Okay. Now, today's session obviously is not accredited for any CPD hours. You are able to take advantage of the 1 hour CPD that we provide Professionalism CPD every month, but you're also able to go to our YouTube channel, search for any sessions with CPD as the label, consume it, and report that as well as professionalism hours, okay? So just thought I'll share that real quick. But today's session on the analytics, so if you registered for our webinar, it's how to use your downtime better. That's really the webinar. And the core aspect of the, I would say the agenda of this particular webinar is to talk about understanding the data, understanding the meaning of that data with regards to your business, and the inbuilt capability of the product to provide you with both meaningful data that you can plan for the future as well as just-in-time information that I think is very pertinent to different aspects of your legal business. Okay? So we're going to talk about the different analytical capabilities, how we present it, and how you can use it not only on the web version of things. I have a iOS kind of a simulator. I am an Android fan myself, but I do have an iOS simulator that kind of walks you through how our analytical capabilities helps both Android as well as the Apple users. Okay? All right, so let me actually jump into real quick. So as part of all my sessions, I use this fictitious lawyer, Roger Moore, as my legal professional who's logged in using uLawpractice. Now, we've done many sessions, many webinars, CPD, non-CPD, where we predominantly talk about the core aspects of day-to-day business, right? We talk about docketing your effort. We talk about, creating clients, doing your conflict checks, creating a file or a matter for that client, running through all of the Law Society's requirements documents, creating retainer letters. So we've done that. So let's assume you've gone through the process, and this is almost, you've done your reconciliation as well on the 26th. And for those who can't hear it on the phone, I've just got a message. I would kindly request if you could use the phone line provided. It's definitely clearer if you use the phone line. I can have my support staff send the number to you. So for those who are joining us through the computer, kindly use the phone numbers provided to dial in for the audio. Okay? Sorry about that. So just continuing along. So let's assume you've done the heavy lifting work for the month. You've done your reconciliation report by just clicking the button, generating the ledgers and journals of uLawpractice. Let's say it's the 26th, 27th. You also want to maybe bring it as a discipline or a practice by starting to analyze your business. Sometimes, as business professionals, we're shy to have a more proactive approach to assessing data, depending on various factors. I recently spoke to a lawyer friend who said, sometimes I just don't want to look at my numbers because it's not as great as I would have liked it to be because he's in his early aspects of setting up his business. But, you've heard of this saying, The world is not going to vanish. Your problems are not going to vanish if you close your eyes. So, taking that to heart, taking your fear factor head on head is one of the key components of being a legal professional, being the daredevil. So here's yet another tool that we present that really loves you to face your fears by providing facts. So data can't lie. Data can't lie. The information can't lie. Facts, that are presented to you are about your business. And it's about your business in the hope and the sense that you've done your reconciliation. Because once you've done your reconciliation, you've pretty much set that data facts in stone, right? If you've received the money that you've said you've received, if you've generated the invoices that you've said you have, both the income as well as the receivables are very much on track for a particular time period, and hence the analytics that you generate on top of that data presents it with meaningful information that's real, right? So let's assume that we are generating analytics on meaningful data that's going to give you meaningful information. I first want to start with the web options that you have. So you obviously have a full-fledged analytics capabilities within uLaw. We call it the Analytical Engine. Now you can set this up to have, just like our dashboard, you could have 4, 5, 6, just 2. We have a few clients that actually just have 2 dashboards. They have the revenue and they have the expense. And there are a few clients that have revenue, expense, and then profit and loss as different dashboards. They review it on a weekly basis. Okay, it's not just on a monthly basis. They constantly review it so that they can plan their businesses better. So if you look at one of these drop downs, so you have anywhere from uLaw revenue insights to as well as a complete list of your invoice. So depending on the question and type of information that you're looking to extract from your business, you have over 12 to 15 different dashboards. And it doesn't end here. I'm going to talk about how we spoke about just-in-time analytics in the context of where you are. So I'll probably shift gears to walk you through that with my iOS example. But for now, let's quickly cover the various components. And these are types of things that you can actually do in your downtime, whether you're taking a bus to downtown Toronto or anywhere else, or if you're taking Uber or a taxi and your hands are free and you pretty much are, you're tired and bored of doing WhatsApp and Facebook, you probably want to spend some time looking at numbers that are meaningful to you, some things that can help you grow as an individual and as a business, right? So let's look at our first dashboard element, which is really our revenue. Now you can do that by month. I'm going to quickly jump into the month of May. So let's say I do this for the month of starting May, ending May. I could have done this quarterly. I can do this yearly. When you click on the go button, it pretty much gives you in a quick snapshot, and you can pause this because this can be a running element. So for the month of May, the income for Mr. Roger Moore, was about $8,000, and now you can start to move on to the next. If you pause it, it's going to run automatically. It's going to be like a swivel that's going automatically. It highlights the highest revenue, and it tells you that it's from. Let me pause it. It tells you that the highest revenue came from your real estate as your area of practice, and this is very good information. Okay, because you may be a legal professional who's serving various different areas of practice. Depending on how you've set up your areas of practice in uLaw, if you only focus on criminal, only focus on business law or real estate, you are now also able to segregate areas of practice by geographical regions. So you could say a real estate Toronto, real estate rest of the world, right? So it kind of gives you a better perspective of where you're focusing your energy and the kind of revenue that you're generating in those silos of practice. Second highest, so we go up to the fifth highest of top 5 revenue generating areas of practice. Okay, so this is a simple dashboard that just talks numbers. Okay, just a quick housekeeping note. I would request you to kindly mute your phones. And for those who are looking to join us on Join Me using the computer, I kindly request you to dial in to the phone number that was provided on the chat window. So it's a simple phone number you can dial into, and the audio and the clarity is definitely better on the phone. So if you're using computers, please don't do that. Kindly use the phone. Thank you. So the first was a quick revenue insight. Okay, very straightforward. What's your income statement? What are the 5 top areas from which you've generated the revenue? Very similar. So when you have revenue, for certain you're going to have to deal with expenses. So let's look at the same time period, because then it makes more sense. So for the month of May 2018, let me go ahead and generate my expense. So if you look at my expense for the month of May, I made a revenue of about $8,000, but I had almost $5,000 of expenses. Okay. Very similar to the highest revenue, we have the highest expense, because that's, again, categorically you want to understand, where can I cut down my cost? So my highest expense was rent. Okay, so rent apparently in this period was close to $2,500. Keep in mind that, again, this is a playground account, so the data, again, it is what it is. But let's assume that you are in a high-end real estate area, and that's kind of really your rent. This may be something that you write down, you plan for, and at a strategic time, rethink your rent and where you are renting. Okay, and just like the second highest revenue, you've got your second highest expense. The next biggest expense for the month of May was printing and stationery. Again, maybe it is what it is, but at least you are able to come to sense with it. You can digest it. And if the expenses are a bit unreasonable, you can plan and prepare for what you can do to avoid it or reduce it. Right? So you really want to face your fear, face the facts as they are, learn from mistakes, and if you're not really where you should be, then at least it's a starting point, and you're using facts to make those meaningful decisions for your business, right? Again, you get the picture. Very similar. We categorize 5 categories, the top 5, both for revenue as well as for expense. Now, you can certainly do the math. You can reduce revenue minus expense gives you profit or loss, depending on the situation. But we've made it simpler. We've added, that as a simple dashboard element for you as well. If I were to once again go and change my month, obviously it's a really irritant problem, I think. In fact, we're at 1st of June. So let me go ahead and do the same thing. Fantastic. So everyone wants to see this. The operating mode is profitable. Why? Obviously, the fact that it was with $8,000 of revenue and about reported $5,200 of expense. You should expect, I guess, the negative $8,000 minus $5,200, close to about $2,700. Okay, so it kind of does the math for you. Same thing. We've got the income, we've got the expense, highest revenue, second highest revenue. Now, if you're kind of bored with the top 5 or 6 things that we show you, you can click on the details, and we give you close to about 15 different data sets or questions that you may want to ask yourself, particularly about the profit and loss. Okay, for that specific question or category of questioning, you have about 15 questions that you can ask. Okay, some of this obviously are repetitive, but makes sense if you're not looking at expense or revenue insights, and you're just looking at profit and loss. You can just use this one dashboard. Don't deal with revenue and insight because we're already giving it to you here. But some questions are important, right? The bottom line here is, was I in a profit mode or a loss mode, and what was the profit for this particular time period? In this case, it's a month. So top 3 dashboards, straightforward. Now, right now I have 5 elements. You can see these are what we call elements or dashboard elements. So you've got about 5. You can always change that. So you can go to our settings, go to dashboard, and you can change the number of analytical items that you would like uLaw to give you. So someone who's really into data and they need 6 different elements at the same time, you can change that. That's the max you can go based on the realty we have in our screen. and I would automatically reflect and show you the 6 different data elements or widgets. Okay? Okay. Maybe I didn't save this. Oh, there you go. Okay. There you go. So now you have 6 different elements for you to work on. So better canvas for, I guess, painting your data insights. So we looked at revenue, expense, profit and loss insights. So before I jump along to look at some other capabilities, I just want to quickly segue so you can appreciate the capabilities on a mobile platform, because that was one of the core things we want to show you. I'm going to definitely jump back to the remainder of these analytics because I want to showcase it to you in as detailed as possible so you really start appreciating and start using this functionality. So I'm using my iOS simulator right here, and I hope that works. For those who are looking to do this, appetize.io is an app that we use. And there you go. So I'm going to use the same fictitious username, so ulawpractice. So logging in into the same individual account. Same as this. Okay, Mr. Roger Moore. All right. So what we present to you within an app, it's a totally different experience. It's more just in time, right? It's all about getting things done faster. You want to add a new client, you can go ahead and click that and say, add a new client right away, right? So again, it's all about that just in time. You can import it, contacts from your own phone book. But I want to focus specifically on the analytic capabilities that are already inbuilt. So first and foremost, you have a client. So let's look at Mr. Adam Jones as a client. Here's all the high-level information that you have. You have his home address, his work address, got nickname. When was this client created? How, what was the referral type? What was the source of contact? Was it walk-in, preferred language, English? And what more can I know about this individual? And that's your just-in-time analytics specific to Mr. Adam Jones as a client. If you click on this little question mark that you see right against his name, it starts to start talking to you about, information that you want to understand. So one, there is a trust transfer that's pending. Okay, it's the total number of matters with pending or trust transfers from Mr. Adam Jones. And for this particular contact, I guess that's all there's information for. So at each and every category, it's not just for contacts. So if you go into matters, and let's assume that for Adam Jones or any client within uLaw, you have multiple matters. So you can search for that. So lets me go into the slip and fall matter. Okay, so it's got all the dockets, high-level information about the client. If you have additional parties involved, here's Mr. Adam Sandler, who's the defendant in this matter, and you've got Adam's legal professional as well. But again, the just-in-time analytics is on clicking this question mark right out of your phone. It talks about status of this matter. So obviously it's a pending status, which means that invoice is pending right now. Now if you just drag and drop this, you've got the total number of invoices, that you raised so far for this client, the total invoice specific to this matter that have been raised so far. But the reality is, and this is the information you've gathered so far from the data, though there was an invoice raised for $1,200, invoices paid are only about $300. So you've got almost a $900 invoice balance for this specific client. And that's information that you can take an action on. So right away you can call this individual client or draft an email, send out a document, or give him a call, or have your assistant give them a call, so that that's taken care of. And this is even shocking that the person hasn't paid it over 41 days, and maybe that's over and above your days of sale. So if, let's say, your days of sale are 30 days, and you should expect payments. Or if maybe you're charging interest if clients don't pay you on time, then you want to understand if you're charging that and adding it to their invoice. Okay? Number of days since invoice was paid. Total trust funds received. Okay? So that's very specific to that client. And because this is a phone app, you can actually give that individual a call right away as well. Okay, so if you go into A1, go to the particular contact, if you have the phone number stored within uLaw practice, then you can actually give them a call right away from here, right from the phone. Okay, and you can import that phone conversation as well as a docket if you think that's prudent. So we took a little detour from the, I would say, the business aspects of the dashboard that we were looking at on a web version, and we moved it into the same database, but looking at it from a different user interface. And this is more of the phone experience. So if you look at the contacts, it's A1 Phil Sync, A2 Taxi. It's the same contacts that you find here. So A1 Phil's, A2 Taxi, right? It's the same piece of information. But the analytical capabilities are more contextual within the phone. So depending on how you consume the data, whether it's on the web version of it, on a laptop, or whether you use this on your phone, or this could be on any internet-connected device. If you download the app, this is the experience. Here's the opportunities for the different pieces of information that we give you. Now, a lot of the information that we looked at early on about revenue and expense and profit and loss is something that you can start looking at from the mobile phone as well, but we'll just give you a slightly varied user interface experience. So here are all of your trust account, your accounts, including your trust account, your general accounts, your business credit cards. You can click on them to get more insight about where you are. So the reds are any money that was taken away from the bank account. Greens are deposits into that bank account. For example, any retainer refund where you had to pay Mr. Henry Rodriguez at 734, that's money going out of your trust account, right? When there's money coming in, which was the retainer that you received from Henry to begin with earlier that week, you got that $1,000 coming in to that account. If you look at Insight, you can also say over what date range you want the information to be. Okay, so you just don't want random information. You want on 1st of April, specifically, you could say, or put a date range, you could say, what was my pooled trust account information? And this is important because you can use this as a segue into reconciliation. You can use this to marry this with maybe your bank statement, and you can really look at your opening balance, statement balance, and your closing balance for that date range, which is exactly what you would compare when you're looking at your bank account. Okay? So you can dive deep into the specific components of your accounts, which is very meaningful, especially in your downtime. This is really the time on a weekend or sometimes at the end of the month is when you're really looking into these things. And you can start to maximize the benefits of consuming analytics on uLaw in various different ways. Going back to our theme, and this will be my last with the mobile app, if you click on the question mark really within our accounting, we ask you, all right, the same information that we've done. Okay, I want to know my expense uLaw insight, and I would like to know let me move this to okay, starting with May 1st. You've got the expense statement, highest expense, obviously for the date range till June 1st, but you can do that for May 31st if you like. Okay. Same thing. So the 5,213, which is what you looked at, if you remember the expense uLaw insights. So there are a lot of clients who are on the go. They don't necessarily carry their laptop or a web-connected device bigger than their laptop to many parts of the court. So this is a great example of how you could use the phone during your downtime when you're just waiting for a hearing. If you're early to court, this is the kind of information you can consume right on your phone. Okay? Same thing. Now, if I were to look at my expense chart by category, there you go. So you've got, and this is rather new to uLaw, especially if you're an iPhone user. Oops, sorry. We'll wait for that to quickly restart. I do apologize for that. But you get the picture is that depending on the app that you're using, whether it's a Android phone or iOS, the experiences are different. Okay. I had an auto timeout. Oops, okay. It would help to spell them right. Oh, I know what it is. There you go. So let's go back real quick. Go in accounts, question mark, choose the category of what analytics you're looking to do. So I really want to know, let's do my fee book chart by category. So you really want to know what areas of practice is bringing the real revenue into my business. And I want to do this over the quarter. The entire quarter, starting April, May, and June. I really want to know either it's a pie chart, bar chart, or just a tabular. You can choose what you like. I want to understand where's so you look at your fee book, but 21% comes out of real estate. But 20% came out of small claims, about 15% are landlord and tenant. Right now you have top five. So if you wanted to say, all right, give me 6, you can do that now. You've got the tribunals that was just added, so on and so forth. This brings the top 7, or you can bring all the categories, which obviously would not make sense, but you can go easily up to the top 9 categories. The top 9 categories of areas of practice that bring you revenue in this date range. And how powerful is that to quickly review it? Either as a pie chart, quick bar chart, or if you want a tabular representation, that's right there. Okay, it's the same information that you would consume on your web. Okay, the fee book by category for the quarter. It's just a different visualization. Okay, so this is the pie view. The data is the same, but you have the opportunity within the app to divvy it up by how many categories you want, whereas the web version doesn't give you that yet. Right now we give you all. Okay. Whereas on the phone, and this is a very similar experience you would have on your Android if you are a Samsung or any Android device user. Okay. Oh, thank you. Someone in the audience liked the visualization. That's pretty cool. Maybe I'll try and make this as interactive. You could probably send in a chat window if there's any other specific piece of information you're looking for us to look at. Another interesting piece of information would be fee book chart by client. Okay. So I could say for the month of April, maybe who are my top 5 clients. Okay? Mr. Henry Horsepower, about 34% of my revenue came from Mr. Henry for the month of April. About 14% came from Mr. Joshi. About 20% came from Mr. Yenre, and about 20% from Mr. Henry. Okay? And again, you can decide if you want 5 or 6, top 5, top 6. This gives you a better perspective too. Sometimes doing this during holidays, or sometimes when you want to send a thank you note, you probably want to use this information, consume this information, and based on what you've seen, you can take corrective actions or proactive steps to help grow the business. So maybe you want to send a reference letter, thank you, and a reference letter to Mr. Henry Horsepower for his business, and hope he would continue utilizing your services for other areas of businesses too. Okay? Another very commonly used dashboard item is the pro bono charts. So if you really want to understand if you are in the business of providing pro bono to your clients, whether it's Good Samaritanship or some experience that you're gaining, and you're getting pro bono work from the government, you can easily use data insights to generate how much of pro bono you're giving away on a quarterly basis, for example, monthly, weekly. That's an interesting part, is you can actually do this on a weekly basis as well. If you really want to stay on top of your revenue and your fee books, you can do this on a weekly basis. Okay? There you go. You've got your pro bono chart by client. Let me just do a quick pie view. Say, all right, what are the top 5 recipients of my pro bono? So you've got 34% of your pro bono went to Mr. Chris, but 12% to Mr. Yenre, but 25% to Mr. Henry Horsepower. Okay? Same piece of information, just a different visualization. You do it for the specific week. So just for the first week of April, if you wanted to do that. You did give away about 100% of pro bono hours was provided to Mr. Lastly Shaw, about 30 hours of work of pro bono. Okay? First week of April. Okay. Generating profit and loss, we looked at that even on the web version of things, if you want to do that for the entire year. Obviously, it's going to take you a few seconds, but it took less than 3 seconds. It's going to tell you that so far, you're great. You're doing profit range. You got about $68,000 worth of revenue, okay, so far in the last 5 months, which is fantastic. That's the income statement. Well, in fact, this is your profit so far. This is your income minus your expense for this date range. Highest revenue coming out of personal injury. So if you looked at that specific date range, so this gives you some really good data, right? So when we looked at early on, for the month of May, real estate was your top performing areas of practice. But at a higher scale, if you were to really look at it on a 5-month scale or 6-month scale, personal injury is really where you've been making a lot of money. That gives you a totally different insight into your business. Maybe that prompts or motivates you to start to invest more marketing dollars into personal injury. Maybe collaborate in that space a little bit more than some of the other areas of practice, right? So maybe you want to budget for the top 3 highest revenue generators. So that's number 1. Then you've got contracts. So this could be employment contracts or business law, right? And then obviously, what will be the 4th? Small claims. So that's the kind of piece of information that you get The advantage to using both these, again, this is very nimble, right on the phone, very specific, it's just in time. Now, if you wanted to compare data, because that's another learning as well. One is to really consume the data for a date range. But let's say you wanted to know, okay, how did I do last month compared to the previous month? Then you probably want to focus on using our browser version. For the fact that you have 6 different widgets, our clients today can actually go in and say, all right, fee-book chart by category. I want the month of April, ending April 30th. Okay. Perfect. Let me do a pie chart. Fantastic. So 29% of my work came from small claims. So maybe I invested a lot of marketing dollars on Google AdWords to go after those small claims business. Then I want to understand if that had an impact. So I want to look at my May revenue and then my fee book for category for the month of May and see if my small claims revenue went up. Unfortunately not, well, at least that's what the data says. But my real estate business went up from 17% to 23%. So for you to now have a comparison or a comparative chart between months, categories, the web version of uLaw's Insights is probably a better bet. You're just going to consume just-in-time data and quick analytics. You can use your phone, the phone app, or the app on your Android or iOS device. This could be on your tab too. It could be on your iPad. This could be on your Samsung tabs. You just have to go into the appropriate Play Store and download the uLawPractice app. But again, going back to our point, if you want to compare this, you probably want to use this. So you can actually compare it for 3 months. You get the point, right? So I want to start with March. Then look at April. That's my March number. That's my April number, and then I'll compare it now with my May number. So the last 3 months that I've used this. Okay. Likewise, I could do expenses. Same thing. This is something that I know for a fact that most of the clients who do use the analytics use these dashboards because they really want to curtail their expenses. And if they want to learn from the experience, they want to learn from the data that's presented. So they want to understand, okay, I want to start from the 1st of January to the 30th of March. For the first quarter of this year, what were my expenses? Okay. Or if I want to do a categorization, I could say expense charts by category for the first quarter of this year. Bar chart. So expenses on client accounts was the highest, about 42%, which is great because those are expenses that you can recover, hopefully, right? But about 14% went in office supplies, about 9% went into printing, about 5% went into rent. Now you can compare the expense chart by category for the next quarter. Let's say starting April 1st till now. How has this changed? Rent's gone up in the last 3 months for whatever reason. Okay, went from 5% of your expense to about 37% of your expense. Maybe you moved to an expensive office downtown Swanky, downtown Toronto, about 32%. So from 42%, it came down to about 32%. So I guess you get the point. This is a different way of consuming data, the data that is now more comparative. And there's some other charts too. So you could, if you really want to look at the invoices that you've generated for a date range. So for maybe for the last 2 months, got about 120 invoices. Okay, just a very high level number. Pro bono charts by clients. You've got pro bono chart by hours. If you really want to know for a date range how much of pro bono you've provided by the hours, you can generate that. Maybe there was no data in this particular time period, or maybe there's quite a bit. Okay, either ways. So a big takeaway for today's session, right? Again, was going back to how do you maximize the use of your pro bono hours. By hours, about 76% were billed compared to about 21% of unbilled. So not too bad. Maybe you want to reduce that to about 15% next month or next quarter. So going back to the crux of today's webinar was about how do you maximize the use of the data that you already have provided. So you use uLaw every day to docket your time, to put in all your expenses, right? Because if you're using uLaw to do your business accounting, you're going to start putting in your expenses, put in your dockets, your disbursements, the number of invoices that you generate, trust transfers that you do. After having done all the heavy lifting and hard work, uLaw gives data back to you in terms of this meaningful dashboards and information that you can consume, learn from that, face your fear, consume that data that's close to your heart, to your business, so that now you can take a bold decision about any corrective measures that you have to. Or if you really like the way things are going, because your business is doing fantastic, then at least it's great that you know why that's happening and certain things that you want to continue doing to keep that momentum. Okay? So I'm not going to bore going back to the app. So we looked at how the app experience also helps you with that. Going back to just-in-time analytic capabilities, right within the context of contacts, matters, as well as accounts. And the same piece of information that we then consumed on a phone, the only difference is you don't have 6 different visual dashboards that you can compare on the web browser that you have it. You don't have that on the phone. Okay, so it really goes back to, even within the analytics, your requirements for how you want to consume that data. Okay. Last but not the least, again, you have all the just-in-time analytics capabilities within the web version too. The same question mark really brings out more pieces of information. The phone information is a little bit more concise, specific, but the insight within the web version is, I would say, more encapsulating. So that's the total number of invoices. The balance for the specific client. So for those who are not aware, you can go to a specific client within uLaw and actually click on the question mark to bring in those insights. You can download this as a report if you like, or you can just do a uLaw insight, and it brings out the client fee book. Now this is particularly important if you, let's say, hire a new assistant to your firm, and he or she wants a better idea of who to follow up, understand clients better, so he or she maybe want to go through clients individually to get a better feel for the type of clients. You obviously have a lot of reporting capabilities, but if you really want to provide insight to data, you can do so very contextually. So if you just hired a new accounting firm or a bookkeeping firm to do your books, and they want to get a better feel for what's happened in the business so far, you have the capability of providing specific access to accountants into your accounting information, if you like, right? So that's when you can start generating analytics right from here as well. So just provide accountants or bookkeepers specific access to data so they know what to ask for, and they can figure it out at their own time. So there's multiple purposes of providing access to the data that's already in your business. This is all thanks to the work that you've already done in putting all that data into uLaw to begin with. Okay? So once again, I recap that today's session was definitely not a CPD session. It was specifically intended to give you a better feel for how you can maximize the use of data consumption from uLaw during your downtime, giving you the key capabilities to ask the pertinent questions. And we continue to invest our time as a company to give you more data dashboards. Okay, so right now we have about 15 of them. Our goal is at one time give you the capability to ask your own set of questions. Okay, don't restrict you. You can just drag and drop pieces of information and create your own charts, if you will. That's our goal, and that's where we're heading towards. But we're obviously going to take baby steps before we get there. Today we have 15. We're hoping by end of this year we'll hit about 25 to 30. And then the goal really is to provide you with a very flexible data design that allows you to ask your own set of questions and data points. Okay, so with that and with a few more minutes left in our webinar today, I would like to open up the floor for any specific questions that you may have with regards to today's webinar. And please feel free to send us your questions via chat window. For those who don't know who we are a Canadian legal accounting and practice management software company. And we're very proud that the way we're organized as a company and how we're performing. And we're very proud that recently we got nominated by the Canadian Lawyer magazine as one of the products that have been nominated under, I think, 5 categories that we've been nominated for an award. And obviously would love our existing clients who are on this webinar to participate in a quick survey that they provide. We'll be sending out those links sometime this week. So I'll definitely share that with you. So slowly but surely, we as a company are showcasing the great work that not only we're doing, but all the clients that we're serving and the great work that they're doing, the audit readiness that they bring to the table that has caught the eye of the auditors and the law societies. So we thank you, the community, for using it right, using it due diligently, and being that kick-ass, law-compliant legal professional that we have taken as a mission. So again, feel free to ask me any questions. I've got my support staff on the line as well. I'll be more than happy to take questions going forward. Thank you. Okay, got that first question. In your data insights, we didn't see a Form 9A. We didn't see a Form 9A. Okay. And there's another question about how does the software treat depreciation of assets. Okay, that's a different topic, but again, really high level, I could show you that from a chart of account perspective, if you look at our assets, we've got prepayments and purchases, we've got periodic transferred expenses, and we do have depreciating assets as well. If you've got deposits and prepaid, fixed assets, goodwill and trademark, especially if you're buying software. We obviously capture depreciation assets, whether it's furniture, computer, office equipment, or other assets. Okay? So again, I'll be more than happy to, because this is a bigger topic, but I just thought I'll quickly show you that we do allow you to capture assets, depreciating assets this way. So it's right under Action, Assets, and the 2 options, prepayment or periodic transferred expense. And you can choose those categories. But having said that, again, this is a bigger topic, so I'll be definitely happy to take this offline, but hopefully that quickly gave you an insight to it. So one of the earlier questions was around the Form 9A. Okay, that's a good point. We don't have necessarily the Form 9A as a data dashboard, but definitely a great point for us to look at. It shouldn't be a problem. But having said that, we already have it in a different perspective. So if you go into our accounting compliance, okay, right under accounts, right under compliance, these are all the periodic, at a minimum monthly time period for which you would generate compliance reports, Law Society compliance. And under this particular compliance panel, we do provide you the option to download all the Form 9As. So if you wanted to say, all right, for the month of May, whether this is for audit purposes or this you just being a due diligent legal compliant, Law Society compliant legal professional, we call it. So if this is just being you and wanting to do it, you can actually generate for the whole month of May all the trust transfers that you did from, or let me say, transfers that you did electronically from a trust account to a general account. And again, this is specific to the province of Ontario. So in Ontario, if you do a transfer from a trust account into a general account in an electronic format or means, so moving it from one bank account to another on your online banking, if you will, you're required to fill a form called the Form 9A, and that's the question. So right under your compliance, we give you a report that pretty much generates all the Form 9As that you need, not just for that one client, every client that's happened. So you're starting with Mr. Narinder Singh, where $500 was transferred between your CIBC accounts. In many cases, if you provide us the information, we also pre-populate your account numbers. Then Mr. Narain Joshi for about $559 between your CIBC accounts, right? And all you really have to do is print this, and this is a document that they require you to sign. So whether you're doing it then and there, right away, because our recommendation is if you're dealing with the matter, deal with the Form 9As for that matter right away. Or if you don't have the time for that, then we've got your back. You can start to generate these forms at the end of the time period. And how do we ask software to automatically fill the address of the bank? We don't yet capture that, but that's great feedback. So today, if you go into our accounts, under the name, the nickname, we capture the bank name as well as the, in fact, it would suffice just to provide the last four digits. So you could basically just say that. And when you fill a Form 9A, it automatically captures this information. But that's a great point. I'm sure we're able to bring it in our settings where you can default your trust and general account and the addresses as well. The reason why we didn't today do it is sometimes things change. You may change your bank accounts and you're going to obviously constantly change it. And when we generate some of these Form 9As, so if you really look at this particular trust transfer from, let's say, trust to general, when we generate Form 9As right in the context of the matter, right, so in this case, let's redo this Form 9A. Remember, we did this XXXX, that's what we've captured here. We've captured the requisition number, debit bank. And when you download the PDF just in time, if you will, we give you an editable PDF. When you're just doing it at the end of the month, it's a format in which you print, sign, or you can write on top of it. But if you've done it periodically at a timely basis, the PDF we give you allows you to edit this. So I think there's just one bank information, which is the credit, the bank that you have to credit. That's the only place where they ask for the branch name and address. So you could say, you can always type on this, but I get your point, and I will take that as a feedback for us to get in. Okay. Okay. Any other questions for today? Again, if there are further questions and you just don't have the time today, feel free to email us at support@ulawpractice.com, and we'll make sure that we respond back to those questions. Once again, thank you everyone for joining me, and look forward to seeing you at our next webinar next Friday. Have yourself a fantastic weekend. Thank you.